So with the 24th pick in the 2023 NHL Draft, the Nashville Predators go with defenseman Tanner Molendyk out of Saskatoon. Gil Martin here alongside with Hadi Kalakeche, our prospects expert, and we are joined by Nick Morgan of Locked On Predators from Nashville at the NHL Draft to break down this selection. Nick, going defenseman here, your thoughts on this pick?
Yeah, in terms of the player himself, the Preds gotta love the getting Molendyk on the roster. In terms of defenseman, probably one of the better skaters in this draft. He's fast, he's agile, he can really help out in the transition game. Which, if anybody watched the Nashville Predators game last year, knows that's an area they struggled. I think there's a lot of people maybe calling this a little bit of a reach. Our buddy Eric Dene, who we have on the show all the time, had him ranked 47th on the draft board. I think there's still some work to do in the offensive end of the ice. But you also have to think that in Saskatoon, he was playing, on the second pair, third pair. He's got the skills to be a very, very good puck-moving, offensive-minded defenseman. And I think maybe the Preds are betting on some potential, especially maybe next year, gets a little bit more playing time in Saskatoon. Maybe he can develop and really reach that ceiling the Preds think he has.
Hadi, are the tools there?
Offensively, I struggle to see them. He plays, it's mainly mental, because when he's breaking out the puck, when he chooses to take a second and evaluate his option, he hits them well. He's got a bomb of a pass out of the defensive zone. You'd be hard pressed to find a better rush defender than Tanner Molendyk. His defensive game is so high end, defending the rush. You mentioned that skating. He uses it so well in order to angle players out of the center of the ice. You can very, very hardly get past him in any sort of way when heading into the offensive zone. He can out-muscle and out-skate, bigger, faster guys than him. Just, one push and he's in their way. So the defensive game is so high-end and so solid, but for me, the big struggle was just the simplicity of his mindset with the puck. Just it's hard to see him, make it as an offensive defenseman at the next level. It's not to say that he won't, but for me, there are big questions about how do you change his mindset in order to make him more daring, make him more aggressive offensively, make him more patient with the puck. Because a lot of the time he's hitting his first option, and he's hitting it hard and accurately, but he's not looking for their second and third options. And that's more difficult to teach than someone who's looking for the second and third options, but isn't quite capable of hitting them. So that's a big question with me regarding kind of the profile that you're getting out of Molendyk. But for sure, probably a top 2, top 3 rush defender in this draft.
Is that a confidence thing as far as hitting his second or third guy, or is it just he doesn't think the game the way he could?
I think it's an issue with thinking the game, because he is confident when it comes to the aggression that he defends with. He's confident when it comes to the aggression with which he takes his shots, the aggression with which he activates into the offensive zone. It's just not calculated. It's not. There isn't much kind of measure going into it. He's not evaluating his options. He's just going. And it's great to have a guy who goes. But for me, it's just, I see less a lack of confidence and a lot more just a lack of awareness. And that's much harder to teach, because you can get a player to play 2-3 years in a junior league to the point where they're dominating it because they're older and bigger and more developed than everyone else. But it's much more difficult to change a player's mentality regarding awareness, taking a moment, evaluating his options. So for me, this is a decent option because of the solidity of his defensive upside. But there are too many questions and concerns regarding his offensive upside for me to kind of be all in on this pick. I think there are a couple of guys who have those defensive elements, and maybe not to that level that Molendyk has, but who actually have very, very good awareness and vision in the offensive zone and moving forward. So it's hit or miss with him. I think that he's either going to be a top 4, high-end defensive transition defenseman, or he's going to struggle to make it at the NHL level. And that level of risk, I like risk, especially in the latter half of the first round. But there are some risks that are too high. And I think this might be the case, but time will tell.
Nick, how does he fit the needs that the Predators prospect pool had?
Well, we just heard from Barry Trotz about this pick, and he said when you're building out your defense, the one thing you need is speed. And that's kind of the mindset that he and new coach Andrew Burnett are bringing in. He wants guys that really push the puck, that move the puck. And as Hadi said, that's something that he does very, very well. That's one area of his skill set that's his strength. Barry Trotz also said, look, we want to take some swings here. We want guys that are going to get people out of their seats. And, if the Preds can develop some of that offensive skill out of him, if they can maybe fix his offensive awareness a little bit, work on some things like making your reads a little bit better, they might have a diamond in the rough here. And that's kind of what the Predators are trying to make a big swing at. It is a risk, but that really seemed like a risk that Barry Trotz wanted to make. And the other thing is you just need to refill that defensive pipeline. You got Roman Josi, who's past 30 now. Dante Fabro, Alexander Carrier are two young defensemen, but maybe not, high-end number one quality guys. The Predators are going to try to get a swing and try to get some of those guys who maybe you work with them a little bit. You might have a sleeper number one, number two pair, top four guy on your hands here.
All right. Well, for more on this selection and all of the Predators' other moves around the draft and free agency, tune into Locked On Predators for free on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.